We could have talked for another 10 minutes backstage talking about LinkedIn and the industry and changes in social media and the pitch It competition coming up. So, lots of good things ahead on this live stream. I am here with Bryn Tillman. If you don't know Bryn, boy, are you in for a treat. I picked up on the fact that sometimes people call her the LinkedIn whisperer. And boy, do we need someone to tame and help demystify LinkedIn in this industry. We tend to be pretty techy, and we're speaking to people who are not tech savvy. And so sometimes there can be a bit of a messaging mismatch, and we'll talk about that today. But I am also here with Sean Lardo. Sean, you are with ConnectWise. You head up the Pitch It organization, and we're going to tie everything that we're talking about today about LinkedIn. We're going to tie that back to Pitch It. But for people that don't know what Pitch It is, could you give a quick pitch on Pitch It? It's Monday morning. I'm full of puns. What can I say?
You are full. It's like bad dad jokes happening already.
Yes, roll it
first
off
thing in the morning. So Pitch It. It is a Shark Tank competition. We're ConnectWise looking for the best vendors, emerging startup vendors, to compete against one another, looking for the best of the best, of course, representing all different factions of the industry. It's not just one thing. It's not just cybersecurity. It's not just QBR, whatever. It's everything, all of the above. The goal is that you guys compete. We teach you some cool things. You spend 16 weeks being in an accelerator incubator program, and then after the 16th week, we do a live pitch off where you guys we narrow it down to the three top ones. The three top ones will compete in the finals. They'll also be assigned head coaches, which we'll be announcing those soon, who the head coaches are. And and once we get to that, they compete live at IT Nation Connect in November. First place winner on stage. And last year we had a very good crowd. 400 to 500 people actually were there, mostly MSPs, which is who you're usually selling to. So, or it should be who you're selling to if you're in our program. And winner takes 70 grand. Second place gets 30 grand. By the way, a nice little caveat is the fact that all three finalists get free booths at Connect. And I'm done.
Awesome. So listen, I'm going to put this on the screen very quickly. Then we're going to shift over and really talk about LinkedIn. And we're going to dig in hard. But registration to put your application in is ending this week. So if you've been thinking about it, my admonition is to jump in. There's always a bit of like, I'll join the gym when I'm in shape, or I'll join the Pitch It competition once my business is mature. No, that's the opposite of how I want you to think about this. So you can see the URL on the screen. In case you're driving, it's connectwise.com/theitnation/pitchit. Get your name in, and we're going to learn all about sales, marketing, branding, positioning, some of the fundamentals like unique selling proposition and doing brand surveys and all of that. And one of the things I'm sure you will be learning about is how to leverage LinkedIn. So I want to start by talking about what I think is almost everybody's pet peeve with LinkedIn, which is connect and pitch, or like whatever you want to call it. It's horrible. You get the connection request, and like I think there is a market for an app that would start a stopwatch, and it's like, oh, Sally just connected with me, and then the stopwatch starts, and when she pitches me, it immediately spits back, congratulations, you are in the top 1% for everybody who connects and then immediately pitches. Please fix your marketing and sales system because it's broken. And I would pay for that. I would probably pay $5 to $10 per month just to watch it work and to maybe cut down on a little bit of the noise. So LinkedIn, if you happen to be watching, you're welcome. There's your next idea. Pay me 1% in perpetuity, and we're good to go. So connect and pitch. It's a lot of the reason that IT companies don't want to be on LinkedIn, because there is so much noise in the inbox. So Bryn, why don't you introduce yourself and then jump right into that crazy topic?
I'm Bryn Tillman. I'm thrilled to be here. I help people leverage LinkedIn to start more conversations without being salesy. And this is the number one thing that's broken. And I have a big list of broken things. I'm just going to throw out there, because I'm curious, if you are watching this live right now and you've been a victim of the connect and pitch, put a V in chat. I'm just curious if you've been a victim of this, because here's the thing. We don't want to be the victimizer. We don't want to be the one that's showing up in someone's inbox seeming desperate to get a sales call. That is not how we need to show up. We need to be a resource and earn the right to get the conversation. No one hires you because you had the fastest pitch. People hire you because they know for a fact that you brought them value, you created value in their role. We got lots of V's coming in.
We got lots of these. I was going to show them all, but man, we'd be popping names up.
Yeah, there's a ton coming in for sure. Right. And so it is so important that we move. So connect and pitch is a bait and switch. They accept your connection not to be sold. They're on here for their own reasons. So if we, let's say as an MSP, are connecting with maybe a CTO or a CIO or a CISO or a small business owner, start thinking about what can we do to start the conversation where we've brought them value first, so that they're excited to talk to you because they go, oh my gosh, if I can learn this much from their social engagement, imagine how valuable a conversation would be. Would it be okay, Jennifer, if I just kind of share my definition of social selling and what works?
Yes.
Okay. So truly believe social selling is about building rapport, providing real value, developing trust and credibility by being a resource, understanding that the sales will come when the time is right. The folks that we're connecting with on LinkedIn are not saying, hey, I just had a cyber breach, I need some help. That's different. If that's what they're saying, go in and solve their problem. They're not actively looking for your solution, most of them, right? So how awkward is it if you say, hey, we can help you be, manage your remote employees more securely. And they're like, I don't have remote employees. Right. So we have to slow down our outreach to speed up the outcome. Treat the person on the other side of this message the same way you would if they were on the other side of the table. You would not walk into a conference, a trade show, a business card exchange, and I go, hey, Sean, I'm Bryn Tillman. We help companies just like you secure their data and make sure that their email, there's no phishing coming from their email or all those wonderful things. Can I tell you how you can hire me? We would never do that.
I love those messages. I love those messages. It's awesome. I get them all the time. I get the connect and then the pitch. And I think the worst thing about that is the fact that not all the time they look at what your persona is or what your job responsibilities or your company. Nobody's actually done any research. And also, if you introduce yourself to me before I even look for you, I don't want you to pitch me. I want to have just a simple conversation about absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There should be nothing involved other than, hey, thanks for connecting. And like some of the best messages I receive is like, hey, just wanted to reach out. I see we're in the same industry. I have nothing to offer you at this moment, but if we ever happen to have something great, but I like to keep people involved in my circle. And if you have anything you ever need, by all means, or anything I can share for you and help you grow, let me know. And that's it. And I'm good with that. I'm perfectly fine with that as a starter.
I love that. And Bryn, hold on, because I know you have a thought, but I don't want to lose this. You said something that I think is so key, is that when an MSP or an IT company is connecting with someone in their geography, they're probably not ready to buy yet. And I think that's crucial. At any one time, if you picture like an iceberg, and that whole iceberg is all of the people who could buy from you, there's only 3 to maybe 6% of people who are looking to buy from you at any one time. And I think statistically it's 3, but I feel like because we now have managed services and security and compliance, that let's just double that to 6%. That means that the vast majority of people you're connecting with, even if they're in the market, they don't immediately want that pitch. And so you've got to somehow have a relationship, meet for coffee, just do that handout. Like Sean just said, if you ever need anything, let me know. And so creating that relationship and not just connect and pitch. So beyond that, how do you recommend that MSPs create that know, like, and trust? Or what's your how do you coach your clients?
I love that. So know, like, and trust came from a book called Endless Referrals by Bob Burg. And and I live and die by this, right? All things being equal, people do business with and refer people they know, like, and trust. So how do we get to know? On LinkedIn, right? And we get to know through attract, teach, and engage. So we need to do a few things with our content. The first thing that we need to do with our content is resonate with our buyers. So if your ideal buyer is the CEO of a small business with 10 to 25 people, right? Maybe that's what you're going after, those smaller companies. We need to make sure that all our content is talking to that person. If we're selling into the CISO or the CTO, or maybe even if they just have one, just a tech person internally, then our content needs to be talking to those people, right? So we need to resonate with them. We need to create curiosity enough that it's worth their time to read. Once we've created curiosity, we need to teach them something new that gets them thinking differently about their current situation. And then we need to create a compelling moment. The compelling moment is they respond. Remember, we're looking for conversation. Conversation is not me pitching one way.
Is that why it's called social media? It's supposed to be like a conversation.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So with that in mind, I am in sales, right? So I do want to start those conversations. I love what Sean is saying from a networking perspective. I'm building my network of people, but if I want to start conversations with people, I want to be a little bit more proactive. Not that I am all the time. I look at my new connection and say, if they were in a networking room, is this someone I'd want a conversation with? And if it is, I'm going to start that conversation, right? So what do I do? There are a few things. Number one, I go to their content and see if they have shared anything. Yep. So I go and I go, oh, look, they just shared the state of cybersecurity. Okay, great. I engage on that and I see Joe Smith was the author of that from ABC Cybersecurity Company. So I go out and I find another either podcast or blog post or something else that Joe wrote. Now I know you're like, wait, this takes a lot of time. It doesn't take that much time.
I was going to say, come on. What are we talking? A 5-minute Google search?
Right. And if we're looking at say that again.
It takes intentionality.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about doing this in volume. We're talking about being very, very specific at the people that we want to start these conversations with. So now I come back and say, Sean, I really loved the article you shared, and make sure you read it because all of this has to be authentic. Everything you do needs to be authentic. They will know, it will come out if it's not. So I really enjoyed the article that you shared by Joe in Cybersecurity USA. I recently came across a podcast he was on. Now, if you haven't listened to it, say, I haven't listened to it yet, but I thought since you were sharing his content, you might be interested. Let me know. I'll send you the link. Now, look what I did here, right? This has nothing to do with me. It might have been a Brene Brown article. Like I said, cybersecurity, but if it's a CEO, it's probably not. If it's the CTO, it probably is, right? So Tony Robbins article, find something else. Why? We are now in conversation around something that matters to them. We don't want to lead with our solution. That's that pitch. We want to lead to our solution. And we start with that conversation. So now I'm like, so the second piece of that is I asked Sean permission to share that link. If I just share the link, even though it's not mine, and because we're so used to this connect and pitch, even if they don't read it and they see a link, immediately they think it's spam. So by asking Sean permission to send that link, number one, I start a conversation. He at least has to say, sure, yes, send it if he wants it. If he doesn't want it, he'll go into my nurture down the road list.
Oh,
if
we're
you,
going to talk about that. I want to talk about the nurture down the road. But before we get there, I want
Okay.
to share this from I'm going to butcher your name. Raheem is what
Raheem.
okay.
You're doing
Excellent.
well.
Say it again.
I believe it's Raheem.
Okay, good. Okay. So I love what he said. He said, many people struggle to build relationships outside of their professional spheres. Therefore, building relationships on a platform can be equally challenging. I can so relate to this. When I'm talking to my clients and I'm like, go to a networking event and strike up a conversation, they want a script. Like they want to be like, okay, but what do I say? And I'm like, well, I can't. That's like saying I'm going to walk into a bar and I want to find a woman and take her out for coffee. What do I say? Like, you just like be yourself. Just have a conversation. And because it is a bit of a dying art form, can we call having a conversation an art form? But that awkwardness or that lack of comfort then bleeds over into social media conversations like LinkedIn. So all right. And then I lost what I wanted to. Bryn, what was the last thing I said? I want to talk about that, but
nurturing.
Yes. Okay. So you're probably meaning that one direction, but I want to take this a little bit of a different direction. How do you feel? I don't mean legality wise. I just mean kind of like morally, ethically, best practice wise. How do you feel about Jennifer connecting with Richard, and then I start to get Richard's drip email sequence in my inbox? Good idea, bad idea.
Permission based. Okay. Hey, Jennifer, I'm not sure if this is a topic that's relevant to you, but I do have a 5 email educational piece on X, Y, and Z. If you're interested, let me know. I'll send you a link to sign up.
Oh, that's wonderful, because that's my approach. First of all, I hate it when I connect with you and then you start out with a lie by saying, per our conversation on LinkedIn, you wanted information on blah, blah, blah. Right click junk. I don't even unsubscribe. I want you paying to send me emails that I'll never see. That's just like Jennifer's passive aggressive approach to horrible marketing. Sean, how do you feel like when you're coaching vendors? Do you see that a little bit differently? Like, do you say, hey, friend a bunch of MSPs and then download them, put them in your database because they've kind of opted into your list by connecting with you on LinkedIn?
No, I don't ever see that as an opt-in. I see it as they opted in to at least be in your network as an individual. There's a drastic difference between a business entity and a personal entity. And I'm a strong proponent of, you should create relationships, not sales. And you can't create a relationship if you just go directly into sales. So I love what Bryn's saying about it is, share this, look at their posts, look if they share stuff, get involved and see how involved they are too. One thing I know is, if you help other people, they tend to want to help you regardless, even if, and you don't, and if your network's vast, you don't even know who's in your network. Sometimes you can't remember who your LinkedIn connection was 5 years ago. So you could be sharing, if it's really good content, and if something that could really help people, like 5 steps to stop smoking, somebody like, oh, I might want to see that. Again, not saying you should share that, because if it's not your brand, but again, if you're providing help, if you're sharing from one person that's trying to help people, they like you for doing it. They're appreciative. And if you share it to the masses, they're appreciative for receiving it. So regardless, your name is intertwined. And in this day and age, with digital being so big, they can find you and who you work for. You don't have to pitch yourself. You don't got to pitch your company. If you make an impression, people will look for you regardless. Good or bad, they look you up. That's just a fact.
I love the words permission-based marketing. And I don't know who is teaching that it's okay to spam people to death. I wish I could find them. And
really, the companies that sell lists are the ones that preach that you should spam people.
All right.
Or LinkedIn automation that breaks their user agreement anyway. Yeah.
All right. So if you're just joining us, I'm here with Bryn Tillman. Sean and I are chatting with her. She's going to be at my event in June 13, 14. If you are going to be in Orlando for IT Nation Secure, you may as well just hang around for a few more days and come to my event, because it's also in Orlando. So you can save a half of a plane, or actually a whole plane ticket. Get your ticket. They are going quickly. This room is going to be full. It only seats 150 people, and that's on purpose. This is very open and honest dialogue. It's very workshop focused. Bryn has been super helpful with providing some of her relatively proprietary worksheets, and that's going to be in our printed workbook. And so if you are an MSP and you're flirting with that $1 million in revenue, up to about 5 million in annual revenue, this is the event for you. We're going to be talking marketing, sales, a little bit of ops, and how ops should be fueling your ability as the owner to step back a little bit. If you are constantly getting your people are knocking on your door or pinging you on Teams or Slack, we're going to show you how to fix that from the ops side of things. And I don't mean operationally, or well, I don't mean from an automation side. It's all about your culture and your vision. So we're going to talk about that. But of course, Bryn will be there talking about all things LinkedIn. So make sure you get your ticket. The URL is on the screen. It's mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate. It is the ultimate IT growth conference, and we're super, super excited. So we've talked a little bit about the connect and pitch. I want to talk a little about content. Oh my goodness, I just looked at the clock. We're going to skip content. We talked about content. We've been kind of skipping over it. However, I do want to talk a little bit about AI and Chat GPT. Because you've got some cool ways of leveraging Chat GPT for LinkedIn. And I know you may be talking about this at the event, so I don't want to completely steal your thunder. But can you give us just a couple of nuggets?
Yeah. So ChatGPT is absolutely amazing. And it is, for those of you that don't know what it is, but I think most of you have at least heard of it. It really is this AI learning and content creation based on prompts. It can also do coding and all kinds of other things that I don't play with. But how we can use ChatGPT authentically, I'm going to give you 2 ways right now. Number one, you come across Sean's amazing article that has been posted in, whatever,
Amazing.
wherever
Let's,
that.
let's stick with my amazing article, and it's Sean's amazing one, because that's like a unicorn. Yes, I'm amazing. Thank you.
Okay, Sean's amazing article, and we're like, oh my gosh, I want to share this with my network. But if you just share the link, it's all Sean's thought leadership, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, and this hasn't changed, right? We say, oh, put your thought leadership, put a paragraph or 2 of why you're sharing this. This stops a lot of technology people in their tracks, because
it stops a lot of marketing people in their tracks. Because I'm telling you, a paragraph or 2, I don't always have that. Like, I've just created 800 paragraphs today. The last thing I want to do is come up with another paragraph or 2.
Yeah, on someone else's content and thoughts. Right. So here's what I recommend is you open up ChatGPT, and it's a freemium. You can use it for free. I pay, but that's because I really use it. And take the link to Sean's article and put it in. And then this is the prompt you say. Please recap this article, sharing 3 bulleted points that stand out as a priority. Put the link in, hit enter, and it's going to give you a paragraph, 3 points that you can copy now. Keep AI authentic. This is my hashtag that I'm starting. Keep AI authentic. So I want you to read them, and I want you to make sure it's in your voice. It will take you under a minute to edit what's been done. If you agree with it, great, but make it yours. So that, that's if we're sharing content. Now, the biggest thing that we're teaching right now with this is original content. And again, MSPs are not necessarily, not all, I'm never, but are not necessarily content producers, but you're subject matter experts. So get on a Zoom, click the give me my transcription, and talk about a topic. Download the transcription, copy and paste it into ChatGPT, and say, write a 2,000 character blog, paste, and it's in your words. So now it's completely authentic. And then go back and read it and make sure it's consistent, because they may see something you don't. They misinterpreted what you said. But now we've got original content, and we've got great curated content that will help us show up as a thought leader.
I love those two tips. And it's interesting. We've got a Facebook user that's piggybacking on your hashtag, keep AI authentic. He said, oh, hold on. You guys, I love it. The comments are coming in so fast. I can't even click the right one. So one of the huge problems with ChatGPT is people are using AI to create content and posts, and then you meet them in person and you find out they have the intelligence of a fourth grader. Red flag.
Right.
So yes, keep AI authentic. Make sure it's your authentic voice. Make sure you agree with what you're posting. That's one of the concerns that I am seeing inside of the content creation community, is that people are creating so much content that I could see a couple of years from now. Let's say that I was creating content and I was just copying and pasting AI. I could see someone coming to me and saying, well, Jennifer, you created a blog post a couple of years ago, and especially blogs that do live on for quite a while, as opposed to just posts that scroll by and they disappear forever. But like, I read your blog post and you said this. How horrifying would that be if it wasn't really the advice that you genuinely believed in?
Right. Yes. I could not agree more.
So here's a question for you real quick though. Okay. So you said under a minute, right? You also said this, type in specific things, and back to that fourth grader. I think you said actually you can actually type in like do the response as a fourth grader, right? So perhaps you can keep it relative to your fourth grade real personality, I guess, right?
So I love that. You can take your very high IQ tech transcript that's probably over the head of 90% of your at least CEO prospects, and put it in ChatGPT and say, write it in a fourth grade voice.
I love it. See, that's what I need.
You can also say, write it as a storyteller. Write it as a TV interview. So
you can. I love adding tone. Like you can make this more corporate, make this less corporate, make this a little. I was on a training and someone said, tell it to make it. I think the word was sassy. Tell the AI to make my response a little more sassy. And it was really fun. We actually had to tone down the sass just a little bit. But anytime you can start with something that isn't a blank piece of paper, is tremendously helpful. So I'm seeing a lot of marketers and MSPs. If you're watching this, you are a marketer. You have to market and sell your company and your product and your solution. So you're a marketer. So anytime you can get any kind of an edge, that's fantastic.
So one thing I want to say, in Orlando, I have created 100 prompts in a short code app that will be a gift to everyone that attends.
I love it. I don't even know what that means. A short code app. Does that mean I can add it like a shortcut on my Chrome? Now you're speaking my. See, I need you to translate it down for me. I like it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to have every short code, not every, but you'll have almost every short code you will ever need as a marketer using AI authentically.
I love it. And I'm creating it not as a companion piece, but it's something similar where I am creating it's probably at least 10 pages. It's 10 pages as of yesterday, and it's continuing to grow. A 10-page guide on how to use ChatGPT specifically to create a webinar. So what order should you go in? What are those webinar prompts? What kind of tone are you going for? And there's a lot you can do after the webinar to repurpose your content that we're going to touch on briefly. And so when you're hearing Brendan and I talking about Orlando and coming to Orlando, it's the ultimate IT growth conference. This is really for those MSPs that are emerging. They're around $1 million in revenue, up to about $5 million in revenue, and they're looking just for that next level. You're finding that you're hitting a glass ceiling, you're hitting that $1 million, or you're hitting that 5 million, and you're looking for ideas and tips to execute on to help you to reach the next level even faster. So make sure you get your ticket. It's mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate, because it is the ultimate IT growth conference. And Bryn is going to be there talking all about LinkedIn. And if I can find the right chat, because you guys are super active this morning, which I love, Corey Munson is claiming credit, rightfully so, for introducing the two of us. Corey's with PCmatic. He sponsored my event last year. He's sponsoring it again this year. Great person. awesome salesperson. And after we left the event, I mean, within weeks, he reached out to me and said, Jennifer, you need to talk to Bryn. Bryn needs to be at your event. Have you talked to Bryn yet? Have you talked to Bryn yet? And so it is thanks to Corey that you are coming, Bryn. I think you do that, but now you know it for sure. And just good people, like all about building those relationships and introducing people to people, which goes back to LinkedIn. Like, how can I help you? How can I introduce you to my world? What can, like, you could do this. You could get on a live with people from your community and share them with the people you're connected to on social media. So no reason you couldn't do this. If you don't have your ticket yet, get it soon, because this event is going to sell out. All right. So we actually have another 15 minutes. I looked at the clock wrong. So we are going to go back. We're going to go back to content, because I feel like we gave it a little bit of a short shift. So content. Sean, you talked about translating it or taking it out of the tech world down into what the typical business owner is talking about. How do you coach the vendors to do that? And then Bryn, we'll be over to you. I want to hear some of your advice to your clients.
Before ChatGPT existed,
last week,
my first bit of advice to everybody is go tell your mother what you do.
I say grandmother. I love that.
Absolutely. Go tell that person and say, hey, this is what I tell people. Like, what do you do? Well, here's what I do, Mom. Here's what I do, Dad. And I guarantee you'll get an honest response, and they'll help you break it down into the most simplistic terms, because that's exactly what you should be doing. And my mother, especially, she'll say, what do you do? I'll tell her, she'll be like, well, what's that mean to other people? Yeah. Well, this is what it means. Well, why do you even do it? And that's the exact answers you want to give, right? Yes. And if I don't say in English to her, she'll be like, what did you, my mother just learned how to use a DVD player like 2 years ago. So she's the epitome of non-technology, right?
But and that's even what then, you want.
Exactly. Yes. It boils it down to English for you. It forces you, if you can't say what you do in a few bullet points, you're being way too cumbersome about it. You're being convoluted about it. So you have to be able to break it down into simple bullets to say, I do this is why I do it, and this is how I do it. The end. And it has to be appealing. It has to be very much appealing to a person to understand how it's going to solve their problem right away, and easily, by the way.
I like it. All right, Bryn, how would you add on to that, or would you approach it from a bit of a different perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great perspective. I really work with folks to understand the difference between what they think is value and what the receiver, the consumer of your content thinks is value, because it's very different. So just a quick story. I had a financial advisor as a client. Really was a content generator when I met him. He was sharing a ton of content. He's like, I'm getting so much engagement, but no business is coming from it. So I said, well, let's take a look at it. And all the people that were engaging were other financial advisors. His content was excellent, but he was coming from his perspective, not from the perspective of the consumer or the buyer. So the first thing we need to do is find out what it is that our clients and our prospects care about. Now, often it's not even close to what we think. And this is where we talk more about leading to our solution than leading with it. If you share your best content, you are going to have so many MSP friends because they're all going to love it, but it's not going to help you use it for social selling. So the other thing is, I think what Sean said is brilliant when you're really figuring out, how do I talk about what I do? But beyond a piece of your profile, you really shouldn't be talking about what you do on posts and content. That's right. It should. I mean, I think there's a really important role for that on our profile. I think there's a really important role for that for conversation. And even when someone, if you want a follow-up with someone that asks you, tell me a little bit more. But at the very top of the funnel, our content needs to, and I'm going to say it really quickly again, resonate with our buyer, create curiosity, teach them something new that gets them thinking a little differently about the challenge they're facing, and create a compelling moment. But what you might teach them could simply be it, I'm just going to like randomly throw this out. If your staff has work phones, have you done these 5 things? You're not like over teaching. Here are the risks. There might be, and here you could say, here are the risks, but in that 4th grade voice. That is not going to attract a whole lot of MSPs, but it will attract the CEOs that have employees that have work phones. Just throwing out there's just a difference between what we think is valuable and what they will accept as resource and value.
So then do you feel like content creation and content marketing, social media, do you feel that is lead generating, or is that more branding? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I get concerned with the word lead in and of itself. To me, my definition, and you will all have your own definitions. My definition of a lead is someone who says, we have a problem and we'd like to talk to you about that. Until that happens, they're just someone that you're networking with and bringing value to. So that's how I look at it. A lead is not a lead till they raise their hand and tell you they're a lead. So content is a conversation starter. Content, you get people to engage. So now one of the things you'll notice that I did in the beginning is I said to everyone, put a V in comments. I moved you from a lurker to an engager. So now we know a little bit more about who's on. Very, very purposeful. Okay. Right? Because most of you that put a V in would not have engaged in any other way.
Yep.
Okay. So that was my little trick, but I do this, right? So you should do this in your content. If you feel this way, put an exclamation point in chat, or tell me your number 1 X in chat. Encourage the engagement, because we have to move them from a lurker to an engager in order to start a conversation. There are a couple other things that we're going to talk about in Orlando, like how do you use a poll to start a conversation? How do you leverage your existing network to get to your next buyer to engage on something? Maybe it's an interview. Maybe, right? There's so many things that we can do, but remember, the goal of this is to start a conversation, not to close a sale.
I love that. And I think if for some people who feel like social media is a sticking point because they're just not naturally good at it, or there's a learning curve, or let's face it, the algorithms seem to change every 2 or 3 weeks. If we can shift that mindset to being one of simply, you're starting a conversation, you're creating a little bit of a relationship. So if you're joining us and you keep hearing Bryn and I talk about, well, we're going to talk about this more in Orlando, that's because we are here talking about the Ultimate IT Growth Conference. If you don't have your ticket yet, the URL is on the screen. Go to mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate and get your ticket. This is going to be a small event on purpose. It'll be 150 MSPs in the room, plus about 10 or 15 vendors. And everybody, vendors included, are there to help grow your organization. So there will be workshop time. There will be time to actually execute on what you're learning. I'm going to be sharing how I get the most out of events that I attend as an attendee. That framework that I shared last year, I'm sharing it again because it was so pivotal for the people that were there. And I'm getting emails almost every week from people saying, hey, I'm still using your decision-making matrix. So I'm going to be sharing that again, as well as ChatGPT and relationship building. And of course, LinkedIn with the LinkedIn whisperer herself, Bryn Tillman. So any last thoughts? I know we've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left.
Well, I'm going to share my last, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this in Orlando, but I think this is where MSPs will really thrive with LinkedIn. It's the short game. So content, networking, That's the long game, and we have to play both. The short game is learning how to use LinkedIn to identify who your clients know and your networking partners know that you would like to meet, and leveraging that relationship to start conversations at a high level of credibility and warmth and engaging. So I'm here because Corey made the introduction. Thank you, Corey. I want you to get into your clients through introductions, and we're going to show you how to do that with LinkedIn in Orlando. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I love it. Man, that is like the epitome of account-based marketing, which, when we go back to that, what we talked about at the very beginning about only 3 to maybe 6% of the marketplace is looking to buy what you have to sell. This is a kind of almost a hack on how to locate those people and how to get warm introductions and how to start more and more and more of these conversations. Even if they are top of funnel conversations, the more you are pouring into the top of your funnel, the more will trickle out the bottom. So I love that approach. Sean, any last minute thoughts? I always love you. You add so much color and perspective to these conversations.
Why, thank you. It's because I have children, and this is my best conversation of the day usually, where I'm not told I'm dumb and don't understand them.
Yes.
So yes. So I'll take it one step further. This, I think for anybody watching, this isn't just about LinkedIn. I think it's social in general. I think the same rules and tactics apply across the board of how you should address it. So I totally appreciate this. What I would say is also, you said put the V there so you can start to understand who's who. I love that concept. I think when you go into this, you should look to market and sell with intent, right? But create relationships with intent. Mm-hmm. And people like I did everything organic and grassroots. Like I was an early adopter of LinkedIn way back in the day because I started selling across the country. So I didn't get to see people in person. So you have to make sure that your LinkedIn looks good. Mm-hmm. It has to make sense to you. There has to be some sort of theme around you that they can trust you. And then I feel like if you do it the right way, you end up becoming a master connector. And as you're constantly connecting, people are constantly referring. That's just how I see it working all the time. It's worked like that for me for years. I've totally leveraged it. I mean, that's how Jennifer and I even know each other, same way you guys did. But that's why we work together on things, and then you start finding your trusted circle of people that you can always rely on to help you to provide value for everybody else. So I think if you find your really good friends, like your posse, then you're good to go.
I love it. And there's a great book on that called Book Yourself Solid. And there's actually a whole methodology. So this is why Brent and I get along so well, because we just drop book nuggets. And have you read this one? Have you read that one? I haven't. Let me make a note of it. I now have a list on Amazon for books Jennifer wants, and it will take me a lifetime to get through that list. But Book Yourself Solid, fantastic methodology. Sean, if you've never read it, you would, or listen to it, you would be all over it because you just gave a little recap of that book without realizing it. So, and that was one of the topics that we touched on last year at the Ultimate IT Growth Conference. More great things coming this year. Super, super excited. Bryn is going to be there. We're talking social selling. She's the LinkedIn whisperer. I will be talking about ChatGPT and how to use that for webinars. Ian Richardson is coming to talk about vision, mission, values. Wes Spencer is coming to talk about the cyber defense matrix and how to make sure you don't have gaps in your cybersecurity solution, and more. We've got sales trainers coming in. I've got 4 or 5 or 6 other sessions that I'm not going to talk about today, but so many great things, guys. The link is on the screen. I would love to host you in Orlando. Tickets are moving quickly, so please get your ticket. We are under 60 days. And so get your event ticket, book your hotel, book your flight, and I will see you in Orlando. I know we had a couple more chats come in, but we are so out of time. For everyone dropping things in the chat, I will come back. If they are questions for Bryn, I'll tag her so she can maybe address those later on today or this week. But to the two of you that are on with me on the screen here, thank you so much for your time. What a treat. This is fantastic.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks. Awesome. I'll do it again tomorrow or next week. We should have this happen so many times in a row that people start watching it, because I feel like
it's a show.
We're at like 1% of what really people need to hear in general.
I'll do once a week to the event. I'm in.
Okay. Well, I will reach out. We'll have plenty to talk about. I love it. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you